This project takes place in a park at the south of Bogota, where most of the people and families with lowest incomes of the city live. It's located in one of the many neighborhoods that was built informally through decades by the numerous families that came to Bogota seeking for a better and safer life and opportunities after being violently displaced from their hometowns. This park is called Pinares Park, and it is surrounded by houses that are built one on top of the other, seizing every piece of empty space, both at ground level and upward. The southwest area of the park is where I'm focusing on. This neighborhood is mainly inhabited by men that work in construction and women that work as housekeepers for wealthier families. Because of the way Bogota has developed, most of these jobs take place at the north of the city, where high-income people live, meaning these working people need to take long rides from one side of the city to another. Since public transportation is not effective in the city, particularly in the areas these people live, they require to take multiple buses, which is both expensive for the minimum wages they receive and time-consuming. Nevertheless, the current pandemic has left most of them out of jobs, which has been devastating since they usually live from what they make on the day. In addition, the kids in this neighborhood have lost their chance to go to school, while in-person classes have been cancelled and they don't have the resources to take them online. Even though education in these and surrounding neighborhoods was never the best to begin with, it still represented a step forward for a community that suffers the worst side of social inequality and inequity and gave some kids the chance to stay away from the gangs and criminal behavior that are very common in the area. With unemployment at its peak, hunger has become one of the major issues this community faces. Although they were promised help from the government, they only see its non-negligence that has deprived them from needs like access to proper infrastructure or quality health and education in the past, and that today allows people to die not only from COVID-19 but also from hunger. There used to be communal dining spaces but are currently closed with the ongoing situation. With not much to do, ways to distract and spend time become important, and especially men enjoy the presence of courts to play soccer and end the day with drinks. But kids and women barely find a place to entertain, discouraged by the drinking environment men create, which leads to fights, violence, and feelings of unsafety. In such context that has always been tough but has worsened with the pandemic, community cohesion becomes necessary in order to confront these issues and try to mitigate their consequences. When I talk about super communities, I mean groups of people that find in their own power and collective work the ability to self-organize, to deal with the dynamic, unpredictable, and sometimes conflictive social, political, economic, and ecological issues that impact them. This is why providing them with spaces that encourage that cohesion and empowerment at the same time they develop skills that they can use to take care of themselves is relevant. If they can use communal spaces to collectively grow food and cook it, to develop skills that allow them to build, inform, and create, and to generate moments of sharing and finding solutions, then they can become a little less dependent on a government that is not taking care of them and an economic system that is not favoring them at all. With this in mind, I propose a series of communal spaces that facilitate these activities and allow people to use a public space to grow the unempowered sense of community. Through workshop spaces and a communal garden, kitchen, and dining spaces, people are able to spend their time and effort in projects that are actually going to bring tangible benefits to themselves and the community. If they can't expect to be given the basic needs for living, they can develop ways to achieving that themselves. In an attempt to be less invasive and highlight the architectural solutions these people have used for their own houses, like merging different materials and levels, I decided to connect these communal interior spaces through terraces of planting beds that are guided by the topography and that suddenly become walls, benches, and paths for people to meet, walk, rest, and interact with. Similarly, concrete slabs that are usually the floors of these houses turn into a rooftop to sit and watch the view of the city in the kitchen and dining spaces, while decorative window bars turn into an element that simultaneously separates and connects the interior and the exterior. Based on a more rigorous observation of every detail of this neighborhood's architecture, a more informed perspective of the community's needs and solutions, and borrowing their usage of reused materials, these spaces begin to gain form. The way bricks are layered translate to opportunities for light and ventilation for the workshop spaces, and window bars become more diverse in response to the availability of materials and the cooperation of the community for sharing what each of them has at their reach to contribute to the building of these spaces. The more the community participates in this process, the more present is their identity with every material used, every way of using it, and every interior and activity that happens in it.